Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40K. There's been a lot of changes. On the 20th of June we've had all sorts of different updates from the Warhammer community webpage, lots of different PDFs to download and go through. Now we're not going to be able to go through all of them in this video, but I'm going to try and do this on the fly because there's that much that I got sort of a few pages into note making and I thought, you know what, this is going to take forever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and relate as many changes as I possibly can as far as Necrons are concerned anyway. If I do miss any, put them down in the comments down below. And if you see any that are good in the comments, give them a thumbs up, because then they'll probably jump to the top of the comments and then everyone else can see them. So apologies if I do miss any, but I'll give it my best shot. Let's start us off with the Warhammer community web page, which has the updates. So they've got a balance data sheet update, they've got the points update, and later on in the day I realised there was a Codex update, there's also a rules commentary update, and I think there's one more I've missed there. Yeah, there's an update for this deck, which has actually annoyed the crap out of me because this isn't even out, and they've already had to make changes to this Pariah Nexus deck, which infuriates me. It really does, it really does. But let's get on to the points to begin. So I've got the points on the screen for you now. You'll notice three things about this page. Two of them are obvious, they're in red. So we've got a couple of points increases and something else is not so obvious. So let's go through the points increases to begin. So we've got the Canoptic Doomstalker, which used to be 135 points. It's gone up 10 points, 145 points. I think that's okay, it's fair. These things were quite cheap. We used to take them in, well, we take them in a couple, maybe three sometimes in the Canoptic Court with the Power Matrix. I think that's a fair points increase, to be totally blunt with you. Canoptic Wraiths, they've gone up virtually 5 points a model. So they used to be 110 for 3, they're now 125. I know they're super resilient, they're super tanky, super annoying to remove, but I don't really agree with this one, because the Technomancer only just went up quite recently, and that's the reason why they're so tanky, because of the feel no pain that the Technomancer provides. Without the Technomancer, they've just got toughness 6 with a 4+ invulnerable save, which is good, but that's why you're paying 110 points for 3 of them. So, am I okay with 5 points a model? It's not the worst, I just think we've already had our nerf with the Technomancer going up. Now, the third thing that you may have not noticed yet on this Necrons Codex update is the lack of Forgeworld models. You'll only notice that the Seraptic Heavy Construct is there, and the rest are all gone. Now, unfortunately, you're going to find them here. They've been moved to Legends, so you won't be seeing the Canoptic Tombstalker. What else do we have in here? The Acanthrites, of course. People were using them. The Tesseract Arc, not many were using that. The Canoptic Tombstalker, the Sentinel, and yeah, that is it in fact. They've gone to Legends. In a weird way, that saved me a lot of money, because at the end of the month I was going to purchase a load of Forgeworld stuff. I'm not going to anymore, they're all Legends, so, you know, whatever, right? So that is the quick update. Let's move on to, we've done that one already. There's actually an update for the Codex itself, so not the points. I only spotted this about an hour ago. Because it's like further down in the Warhammer community downloads page, and I was so intrigued with all the top stuff at the top of the page, and then when you click into the rules commentary and see 35 pages of changes, you're like, wow, didn't even get to this part. But there's a few changes on here. First of all, we've got the Silent King has changed. We needed this because I'll talk about something else in a moment that relates to this. So all models have got the vehicle keyword and epic hero, and Zarak has the character keyword. So the Trichomaniers do not have the character keyword inbuilt in their models. That's very important because they've actually changed assassination back to how it used to be, where it's done per model. We'll probably talk about that in this video anyway, but that was a momentarily it was a bit of a nerf to the Silent King until I saw this document. So it's not actually that bad. The Night Scythe has gained Deep Strike. That could be big for the Night Scythe, because we're not just coming onto the table edges anymore, we're now going virtually anywhere, dumping a unit. Could be good for Lich Guard, Scorpion Destroyers and so on. You never know, it could be good. There's a load of FAQ questions. I'm going to pick out one in particular, which we already knew the answer to it, but it has been confirmed. which is this one right here. If a unit is removed from the battlefield using the Hypercrypt Legion hyperphasing detachment rule and has the deep strike ability, can that unit arrive from reserves in the first battle round? And it's yes, provided you're going second. We did already know that. We've already explained in previous videos why that works. They've confirmed it. Good stuff. Well done, GW, for that one. Not so much with the Pariah Nexus deck. Speaking of the deck, let's just get into this. So the things they've changed, I'm going to just quick skim over this because it's not massively related to Necrons, but while we're here, I'll just talk about it. Recover assets is not a fixed, even though they've printed it as a fixed secondary, and it's a new one as well, so they should know a lot better when they're doing their playtesting. They should have got this down, and they screwed that up. And annoyingly, I've done some videos where it relates to the recover assets fixed mission. So it's not fixed anymore. Assassination, as I already said, it relates to character models. No, yeah, it relates to character models. It was printed on the card as character units. It's back to models again, but the Silent King isn't really affected with his Minears, so it's not that big of a deal for us. I don't know about other factions. Colour Horde, they fixed the loophole where if you've got less than 20 models in the unit and still pay for 20, then you're like going... It was basically a loophole to not let your opponent score. They've fixed that, that's fine. And there's a few changes with some of the missions. Again, I'm not going to go through that right now. Maybe at a later date we'll talk about that. The main balanced data slate. This is the main actual part. I should have started on this part, but for some reason I clicked the second tab. But the first change here, we've got changes to the core rules. So modifying a stratagem CP costs. So this is going to relate to the Overlord models because they've got My Will Be Done. And previously My Will Be Done allowed you to use a stratagem that was battle tactic for 0 CP. They've changed this drastically now. Now it's done, I believe, on any type of stratagem. It doesn't refer to battle tactic anymore. I may be wrong on that. Correct me if I am wrong. But I don't see it say battle tactic anywhere. And what it actually does now is, instead of it being 0 CP, it's just a -1 to the cost of the CP. So if it did cost 1, it will go to 0. If it did cost 2, however, it will go to 1 and not 0. Now this is good because there were some issues with clash of abilities where one unit such as, I don't know, the Swarm Lord can increase your stratagem CP by 1, but then you can, with the Overlord, you can put it to 0. Which one sort of applies? Is it going up by 1? Is it going to 0? We played it as 0, but now they've sort of cleaned it up a bit. If you're going to add 1 then -1, it just cancels each other out, doesn't it? So that's the first part of that section. There's a next part, which is if there's any abilities, like the Swarm Lord's ability to increase the CP usage of a stratagem. We don't really have that in the Necrons Codex, I don't believe. Am I missing it here? I don't think we've got it. Won't come across it, but when you're increasing the CP, the model's got to be within 12 inches of the unit using the stratagem, which I think really makes that ability stink, to be honest with you. That's really bad now. So it's going to be good for us because we don't really use that on our opponents, but we can now be a bit more defended because it's got to be within 12 inches if they're using it on us. The second part, stratagems that can be used more than once per phase. It's only really going to relate to the Hexmark Destroyer, but the Hexmark Destroyer's ability states via Overwatch, so it's not going to be affected, I don't believe. And the third part, which is stratagems that prevent units from being targeted. This will affect our Canoptic Court, because they've got a stratagem, I can't remember the name of it, Counter-Temporal Shift, isn't it? So Counter-Temporal Shift effectively gave the Canoptic unit Lone Up. I shouldn't really say Lone Up because it isn't Lone Up. But units had to be within 12 inches to fire range attacks at it, at the Canoptic unit, for 1 CP. It was a stratagem. Now they've increased all stratagems that can do this ability to 18 inches, so it's not as good. Our reanimators in particular, which I was going to probably do a video on about them being the new action monkey, they're not going to be using that stratagem as effectively. 18 inches is quite a lot more. So yeah, that's going to apply to us, as well as other factions, of course. And then we've got stratagems that add new units to your army. Again, I don't believe we add new units. We add models, but not units. That's going to really hurt Tyranids, isn't it? So that is the core rules changes. We've then got one more little bit to go down, right down into the Necron section. Hypercrypt Legion Detachment, Cosmic Precision Stratagem. So you can no longer target monsters with Cosmic Precision. So no throwing your Nightbringer in 3 inches away from enemy models in the back lines and so on. To be honest, I didn't really use this stratagem to do that because you don't get to charge. So I find it quite weird that we've been given this nerf, because there was always a risk anyway. As soon as you put your Catan, or the Void Dragon, maybe the Void Dragon's a good example actually, a bad example even, because he can shoot. They can all shoot really, but they can't charge, and a lot of them, their best part of their offense is the charging and the melee, especially the Nightbringer. Void Dragon's not far behind, and even the Transcendent Catan could do a bit of work. So I think it's a weird one, but I use that stratagem slightly differently. I use it to score secondaries and things like that. So that is the changes we've got so far. I've got a few, in fact, I'm not going to go into the rules commentary and the core rules updates, because there's, like I said, there's 33 pages of non-stop red typing ink everywhere, and there's a lot to go through, and each rule is going to have a domino effect on every codex. That's going to take some reading, but I did pick out a couple of things that will be in relation to Necrons. The first one, Tank Shock, has changed. The core stratagem Tank Shock. You used to use your strength on the charge for 1 CP. It's not strength anymore. It's now going to be your toughness. Now, we're not massively tough in terms of vehicles, but we weren't massively strong either. We didn't have loads of, we didn't have soul grinders and things like that. We're having, Doomsday Arcs with not much strength. However, monoliths are toughness 13. That's probably one that stands out and is quite commonly used. There's a lot in there that are sort of toughness 8, toughness 9. You do have to roll a 5+ to get the mortal wounds off, but 13 is okay. Maybe if you're just trying to clear a smaller unit perhaps, but it's probably better on our defense side as well. We're not going to be getting tank shocked against these, like I said, got soul grinders. They got a strength 16, so they were just using tank shock all the time against me, and it was a pain in the ass. You get 16 plus 2 more because you've got more than our toughness and so on. So that has changed. And the other change is there's a new pivot system. I need to read it in a bit more detail, because some people in the Discord are saying that it's not going to apply to round bases. I need to get a little bit more into it, but as far as I'm aware, monsters and vehicles that pivot at any point in the movement phase or the charge phase are going to basically get a penalty of 2 inches, but then you can pivot and you're going to gain ground because of the pivot, especially the oval bases, because they've got a longer side on one of the sides obviously. So Ghost Arcs, I'm not sure. Doomsday Arcs, I'm not sure, because they've got a round base, but the actual hull is one side is longer than the other. So I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to get back to you on that. Maybe I'll do a bit of a short or something to cover that. But yeah, if there's anything more that you want to add to this Necrons update, do so in the comments like I said. And put a thumbs up on other people's comments, just so that we can get them to the top, so we can see them all together. Because there's a lot to get involved in, there's a lot to take in, and a lot to unpack. So guys, thank you all for watching, and hopefully this has been a little bit more informative for Necron players. I will see you in the next one.